Now it's like,
Hi, everyone.
hello, and good morning, good afternoon, Fatigue.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. As you can see, I'm somewhere different every time.
Well,
That's about to change.
yes, it's oh yeah, this weekend is time change too. We gotta have to keep that in
Oh,
mind.
I don't even, I don't think my mind can handle that right now. Time change, space change, all of that.
Everything, and it's funny. Like it's like we have this little routine where we have to hit a record button, and so we say, "Are we ready to go?" Yeah, we're ready to go. Okay, I'm hitting the record button, and just as I hit the, you said, "No, wait," and it's like.
Yeah, yeah. I got to do something, but it'll be fine.
Yeah. Even though the show isn't live, we still don't edit anything. Like we just
There's
it's
no reason to
spontaneous.
add it. There's
Yeah,
no reason to add it.
yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's all good. So, how was the week, Rick?
The week was interesting. It was interesting, and I didn't tell you anything about the week other than I've been having this whole notion about not trying to figure things out, trying to balance between what I feel is resistance versus allowing things to just happen or flow. Um, this ebbs and tides of life, kind of a thing.
I don't know anything about that.
No, I bet you don't. I mean, from your description, life just is so smooth.
So smooth, yeah, which is why I have a different background every time we get on there. Well, no, hold on. I had the same background for a few times,
A few times, yes, yeah,
but yeah, this one is going to change.
yeah. Again, yeah, yeah.
Again, and then again, and then again, and then it's going to stay the same, hopefully, for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, we're
Right.
looking forward to that stability. But
Right.
in the
Me too.
meantime, you're kind of like in the whitewash of, you know, bouncing around and up and down and
Yeah.
so much uncertainty. Like how do you manage all this uncertainty?
Oof. I mean, there's been a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
It has evolved.
Okay.
Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
At first, I think when you get hit by uncertainty, which in this case for me is like my home,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
say it what it is, my home. I haven't been in my home.
You haven't had a home.
I haven't had a permanent home
No.
since July.
Yeah.
Months of it were purposely done. The other 2 months were somewhat, maybe half of it. I suspected it may or may not happen. Didn't think it was going to go on this long. It's
Mm.
about to end, everyone, no fear. But I got a little taste of the nomad life, and I can live anywhere and work from wherever I am, and all of that. Uh, there's just a caveat. I do have two kids that go to school in the same place, right?
Hmm.
And really wasn't because I wanted to have the nomad life experience. It was just the way things worked out, finding a place in New York City. If you are in the city or you've ever experienced that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you are not, let me tell you, it is nothing like anywhere else. And I'm going to leave it at that. It is a very difficult thing to figure out for anyone and everyone, even someone like me who's been here over like 23 years, right?
Hmm.
So how do I manage that? I mean, I went through all of the motions and the feelings and the, you know, emotions of being upset, feeling lost, feeling surprised, to be honest with you, surprised by how much this not having a stable home really threw me off, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Realizing like it's not just your home that's not there. It throws off all your schedules and your points of reference and the distance between you and the things that you have to do. So you're constantly readjusting and refinding your grounding and you're resetting schedules. And that's a little easier to do if you spend a little bit of time in each place. But then, you have to start all over again and pack it all up and move. It's a lot of work. It's very time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of really threw me off. I didn't expect that it was going to be so difficult to not have my things, my home, my grounding, my space, right? To have even whenever we get on here, trying to figure out the set and the lighting, and it takes some time now because
Yeah.
it's not the same spot.
No.
So, and I don't have the proper tools, but I've also learned to flex and adjust and just like really really let go, really
Mm.
let go of a lot of the things that I would like to have or the ways that I would like to do things. And
I like how you emphasize like.
like, yes, I would like it to be this way,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's not.
Yeah.
So, I think that in the beginning, there was a lot of frustration with that. In the beginning, there was a lot of like annoyance with how much time and space this is taking up in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's more fun. It's like, oh, look at that. The pictures are not centered. Well, I have to do a little adjusting the furniture in this space, right? And we just laugh about it, right? And I have someone like you that can just go along with me and just be flexible, right? So I would say flexibility is really the key word here, but also like knowing exactly what you want and standing your ground, which goes back to a little bit of what you were saying. When do I resist and when do I let go? I would say that this is the biggest question that anyone could answer. And it's probably a question that doesn't have a very definite answer, right?
No, because there is, it's almost like you have to be two separate people. Like you have to be the person that's in the experience, and you have to be a person that's observing the experience.
Right, right,
And I think from only that point you can notice whether, okay, am I resisting too much? Am I hanging on to ideals or whatever you're resisting? And then even that is hard to identify sometimes,
right, right,
right? And then like you said, like let go or allow, like there's that notion of, okay, so what am I giving up? What am I compromising? um am I giving up some value? Am I, and those things are really hard sometimes to discern, especially if you're wrapped up in your thinking too.
right, right.
Yeah.
I would say to that, right? The person that is having there's this two parts of you. The part of you that's having a difficult time in that moment,
Hmm.
and then there's the part of you that's the observer, right? If you know how to step into that, and I would just say really honor both those parts.
Hmm.
We must honor the part of us having a difficult time, right? Again, it goes back to like acknowledge. That's all you need, right? Because the resistance sometimes is towards the difficult feelings, right? The resistance sometimes is towards, I don't want to feel this way, right? I shouldn't have a hard time, right?
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
we don't honor that part of ourselves. We just ignore it. That's how I'm flexible. That's how I'm navigating this. I'm not giving that any energy. Sure. Don't give it any energy. First, honor it. First, recognize it, see it, and acknowledge it.
Well,
Then don't give it any energy.
well, yeah, and but note that's part of being the observer, because the observer actually gets to hold a neutral spot,
Right.
and then ask the question, okay, for me, like how do you know, okay, this resistance, this feeling, whatever you want to call it, that we're labeling resistance, is it telling me something about the situation? Is it telling me that I need to be more flexible, or is it telling me to push harder on,
Right.
right? And again, that's that discernment piece. And I think it's an individual experience, because I can't go to you and go, well, you just need to push harder, and work harder, and you'll get through this. I can't say that to you.
Right. Right.
You know,
And I love what you actually mentioned earlier about values. I do want to speak to that a little bit.
Sure.
You asked me how did I do all of this, right? There was a lot of there was a lot of questioning things too along the way, right? And like, am I exactly what you're just saying? Am I just resisting? Should I be more flexible? There was a lot of questioning that, right? And am I just trusting too much?
Oh, the opposite.
Right. Is this really gonna happen? Like, I'm trusting, but like this is not looking like stuff is falling into place. There was a lot of that too, so on both ends, that doubt can creep in, right? And I do think what I just went through was what I'm still going through was a prime example of this notion of when do we trust and when do we push and when do we check in with ourselves? Am I being too demanding? Am I getting in my way of finding a place, right? Should I be more flexible because everybody's telling me that I must adapt because that's just the way things are? And let me tell you, I stood my ground. Because obviously been through some stuff over the years, and I know that it pays off when you do this check-in with what you were just saying, your values.
Yeah.
What are my values? What does really matter to me?
What counts for you? Yeah.
What counts for me? So I did that check-in a lot, right? And am I just being difficult? Like others are labeling me.
I've never known you being difficult.
Right? Or like others are labeling me to be, or am I being too demanding?
Yeah.
And I made a decision that no, I am choosing that I will get what I know matters to me, what I know matters to my children, what I know is going to make our life better. Because quality of life is a strong value for me. My environment is a strong value for me. And really being able to let go of everybody's judgment, let go of what everybody thought that I should or shouldn't do, right? All of the suggestions and the advice, right? There was people, I feel like normal people don't necessarily always know, not normal, but in general, people don't necessarily know how to just hold space, just listen, right? And validate somebody's experience. They want to get into fixing, so they start giving advice, and that advice oftentimes ends up making the other person feel bad about the situation, or
the insecurity creeps
in, or they are projecting their own stuff onto you, right? So there was a lot of like, thank you for your advice, and these things matter to me, and I'm going to keep pushing in the direction that I know I want my life to go. I want my apartment to be like, or whatever it was, right? So, and let me tell you, there were moments that I really doubted that. I was like, I think maybe this is just what the outside world has to offer, right? These are the circumstances. This is what the situation is outside. We may never find a place because I'm looking for something that's not there, right? I had those doubts and I went multiple times. Yeah. Understandably so. It was not looking really good. But honestly, the moment that I got into the Observer and I made a decision, all of this, and I actually made a pact with the universe. I was like, I will continue to trust. Yeah. I will continue to trust. And I will do everything and anything that I know that it takes to create the outer reality that I want. But here's the deal. If it doesn't work out, I'm not doing this anymore. Let me tell you, the moment that I
Are you going to quit with the universe? Is that what you're doing?
I did. You know me, I'm defiant. And I'm like, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to do all the things. And we talked about this in the last conversation. I'm going to do all the things.
Yeah.
And I know that it's going to show up. But if it doesn't, we're going to have to revisit. It wasn't like I'm never going to believe in you. I'm never, like it was like,
yeah.
And you know what? This incredible place showed up and he met all my criteria, but a couple of them,
Yeah.
right? Because part of that was also, this is a list of 12 things that I want, that I desire, that I would like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to flex a little bit. I'm willing to compromise a little bit, right? But
Yeah.
also among those 12 things, which ones are non-negotiable?
Mm-hmm.
So I picked out my non-negotiables, and every decision that I made every time I saw a place
Mm-hmm.
was really going, up against my list, but like the non-negotiables had to be a part of it, right?
Right. Right.
The problem was that 99 places out of 100 didn't meet that non-negotiable, right?
Yep.
But guess what? I found a place
Mm.
that meets all the criteria that I had.
Right.
And yes, there's some compromises that I had to make, and I was ready for them.
Yep.
And that to me is proof that this is just how things are. These are the circumstances. This is New York City, and you're never going to find that, and you're being too difficult. You're going to have to move out. All of that was debunked.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's
This
not true.
It's not necessarily true, and
Right. Right.
that is a really powerful observer statement,
Right.
is to recognize that what you are experiencing may not necessarily be true,
Right.
right?
Right.
And regardless of what other stories that are people saying, and even those stories that you're telling yourself about, well, this is maybe I'm being too hard, maybe I'm being like, all that is pointing back to, well, is it really true? Is it really true that I'm not flexible enough? Well, I don't know.
Right. And then also, like looking at the evidence,
Yeah.
right? So was the evidence there that this was going to be difficult? That most places were meeting my criteria? Yes. So what I did was, what would I rather believe? Well, I would rather believe the opposite of that. I don't really like that, right? So let me just believe the opposite of that. Is there any evidence of the
Good.
opposite of that being true? You
Yeah.
know what? When I thought in that direction, yes, there was, because I was looking for months and months and months. Yes, there was. What was also true was that those places were really hard to get, right? And so I made a decision.
But here's
Learn how to get it.
well, there you go. Because even as we have extra thoughts around, like, everything we tell ourselves is kind of like a story. So if I want to use that analogy, right? So I love what you just said. Like, if I'm to believe this, then what is the evidence that supports that? Because that's exactly what ends up happening. We believe something, and then we spend the rest of our life looking at the evidence to support that. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I'm right. What I love what you just said is, I'm going to look at the other side of that coin. I'm going to look to see what are the outliers.
Right.
What is the evidence that supports this side?
Right.
And oh my goodness, there it is. But then it's interesting because you had another little thought about, well, it's really hard. Well, again, looking on the other side of the coin, is it really hard? Like challenging yourself, right?
Right.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So yeah, I did know that was possible for a while,
Yeah.
right? And as long as I thought it was hard, guess what? I found a place that I loved. It was the perfect place for us.
Yeah.
But it was really hard, and I didn't get it, right?
Yeah.
So I patiently waited and looked and looked and looked, because there was a learning curve, and there was some doing behind it, right, for months. So observe what you've seen, and then because everyone will tell you this, they'll tell you that, but no one knows what you're looking for, right? It's like, okay, there's going to be another one of those unicorns that's going to come out, and this time it's not going to be hard. I'm going to get it. This time I know exactly what I need to do. Though part of why it was hard was I didn't know what I needed to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's new territory.
New territory. I mean, you guys, they should have like a degree for renting a place in New York City. Just saying. So I earned my degree and knew how to go about it this time, right? And I made a decision. Yeah, it's going to be really hard. And I was even told it was like splitting hairs.
Mm.
And, it wasn't just me that wanted this place, but it went
No,
with.
there's competition for everything, isn't
I
there?
did all my woo-woo, juju, moo-moo, kundalini,
Burn some incense.
magic, like new moon, blue moon, full moon. I did it all. Okay, I did it all. Chanting, light language, meditation,
Oh
you
my God.
name it. In setting intentions, mastering my energy. That actually, which we will talk about eventually, was one of the biggest things that I believe like contributed to me getting place. But like, I did it all. There was nothing that was below me. Saging, you name it, I did it. Feathers, leaves, whatever. Okay, I did it all, and along with my belief system. I believe that this is how I got this, right? Because I switched what I chose to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And within that switching of that belief, I also switched the belief that it was going to be hard. And I also switched the belief that it was going to be harder for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because of my circumstances, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? It was like, it just like against anything and everything that anyone would have told me, it just worked out.
Yeah. No, and I'm sure like if people that are watching or listening to this even just reflect on their own life about certain events that, where they notice themselves up against that one side of the coin, let's just say, and then whatever happened, looked on the other side and found the path,
Right.
instead of coming up to it going, oh, I guess that's just the way it is. I guess I can't do anything more about it, right? And maybe there is some truth to that, right? And this is where that discernment piece comes, right? I've been pushing and pushing for the last 5 years. I'm not making any, like, is it time to relook at things, or is it time to reframe things? Is it time to, right? Like, am I holding on to something that really truly isn't what I really want? And maybe the universe is telling me that I need to pay attention more. Right? I mean, there's so much to explore.
There's so much to explore, and like it goes back to like this challenge. I don't want to call it struggle, but like challenge of
Yeah.
knowing where is the balance there of pushing versus allowing, trusting versus wanting to manipulate or control,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it really is in the balance of the two. It's not true that you just have to let go, because sometimes people take that literally and they sit there and do nothing. You
Mm-hmm.
sit there and do nothing. We live in this 3D world where you gotta do things for things to happen, right? To a very great degree.
There's action
It's
that has to
doing.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I need to pick up the glass and drink my water for water to make it in my tummy. I can't just sit there and like trust that my body will be dehydrated, right?
No.
So there's a level of action that we need to take, but also that just taking action is not going to work, right? Just pushing, we lose sight of that pause, that allowance, letting things fall into place, right? So, like I said, it is a really big question, right? When do we know what to do? Well, it's a dance. And within that dance, you're constantly learning new skills.
Yep.
And no one
Sometimes
can
you
tell you
lead and
when.
sometimes you follow, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
There's no barometer that's going to be like, oh, now it's time to let go. Oh, now it's time to push. There's not. It's self-guided. The self-guidance comes from a process of, give and take and bending and standing firm on your ground, right? Because we're not also being too flexible. Cannot be beneficial, right? When do we stand our ground? When are we firm on what we have decided that we want for ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
It's a dance. It's something you got to dance with it.
Yeah.
You gotta dip your toe and see, oh, it did
And
this.
the only way getting back to that action is you have to participate in it. You have to be involved, right? So like while you're in this dance, it's getting in tune with the music. Am I stepping to the rhythm of the music, or am I off on my own tune?
Right,
and wondering why I'm stepping on my partner's toes all the time.
right, right. It's not a simple answer, and I
No,
think that's why, I find myself in that situation. Every circumstance, every situation is going to be different. It's going to test you differently. A
different.
different
That's
way.
right. You can't keep. That's why it's a constant learning curve. Like, so what you know today got you where you are today, right? And it's on the other side of the coin where all that unknown, the stuff you need to know to get you where you need to go. And this is what you discovered in finding that place, right? Is that
Right,
is is you knew something and it got you this far, but you needed something different to get you further.
right,
And that's where you started to explore and
right,
challenge yourself, challenge all the beliefs. Is it
right.
really hard to get an apartment here? Do I have to give up values? Do I have, right? Those are all exploration questions.
And you know what? Listen, there's a place for those that believe that it is really hard and that they have to just be content and accept what's out there, right? And that's how all those places get rented.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe there's also different level of values or needs,
Well, there's
right?
different levels of people's understanding, right? I mean,
Right.
it's not to say that they're wrong for what
They're not. It's
that's
just
their
not
life.
my value. It's just
It's
not
right.
what I want
Yeah.
for my life,
Yeah.
right? I if I was 20 and I wanted to be in the thick of things, in the middle of everything, didn't care about where I lived, I have 2 boxes of stuff, fresh out of college. Hell yeah, I'll take that place with another 3 roommates right by the subway or right in the middle where everything is happening. That's not my situation, right? So there's a place, that place is perfect for people that have different circumstances, needs, and values,
Yeah.
right? But what I wasn't willing to accept was that I had to bend over and like squeeze myself into something that didn't feel right to me, that
Yeah.
didn't feel like it fit my needs and values. And I think oftentimes we lose sight of that because we feel that the circumstances trump over what we want. And we have to adjust to the circumstances. We have to do what everybody does. Everybody is not willing to do this dance with themselves. And so they do pick the option of that feels a little bit easier. I'll just move out of the city. That's it.
Yeah. I'll
Right?
just move out of the
I'm
city.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna go where there's a lot of space and it's the price is right, right? My life's gonna be easier. That's a choice too. And that does work sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work because you're giving up other things, right?
Well, and this something that's just coming up or occurring to me right now is the dialogue that some people might be hearing this saying, well, Fatih, it's real easy for you to say that.
Yeah, Rick knows how easy this has been.
Or even for me, it's like, oh yeah, look at you, and all this. But in reality though, again, it's if that's the story that you wish to believe, then yes, that's the life you will lead.
Yeah, right.
Right. And there a lot of times, yeah, I've bought into playing small, playing wherever, right? And I've gotten the results that I wanted. And there are times where I've sort of let go of what other people were saying. Like I remember one time, actually it was my wife that kind of challenged me. She says, "Why don't you get a job over here, this one company?" And I said, and the story that first came up was, well, it's really hard to get in there, kind of a thing, right? Um, well, I proved that wrong, right? So it was like, like I was in there, right? And so it's like, again, if I was to buy the stories that I'm telling myself or what others are saying about things, then yeah, you'll get the expected results. Knowing enough to challenge that, is it really true, puts me on the other side of the coin where I can explore a little bit, try things. I might not have gotten that job. Who knows? I mean, but I tried, and it turns out I was right. I did get the job, but it could have been just as easy the other way. And it could have been just as easy of not trying and just sort of saying, you know what, I'm not gonna make that effort because I know what the results are.
Right.
See, that's the biggest mistake. You don't know the results.
See, something tells me that the reason why you know all of this is because you've been on the other side.
Well, we've always had a piece of it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But then we fall into, okay, that's my normal life now.
Right.
Forgetting that we're expansive individuals. We're always evolving. And so we can't keep staying at the level we are. We have to keep exploring. We have to keep challenging ourselves. And you have a real life experience right now. You're living right in.
Right. And again, for those who might think that this is easy for us to say because maybe we're not experiencing what the person's experiencing in that moment, I'm going to say this to you. The reason why I know is because I was that person that felt like, well, easy for you to say, and I couldn't shift things, and I had to adapt and accept and receive what was thrown my way, which wasn't what I wanted, right? And I always labeled it as the circumstances outside of me. And I still fall into that, right? I fell into that at the beginning of this whole ordeal, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the reason why we can sit here and say what we say is because we've been through it, A.
Totally.
And number two, the reason why I can sit here and say this to you is because I went through the discomfort of months of doing the dance, right? Where do I push? Where I don't?
And may I tell the audience, and the flows of tears.
And the flows of tears and the emotional,
all that stuff,
process that I had to go through, the releasing, reaching, going down rabbit holes over rabbit holes and hitting rock bottom. So yeah, I'm sitting here with a smile on my face describing this, but this is because I'm on the other side of it, because I went through that learning process. I went through that dance. And again, I'll be the first person to raise both my hands and say, it sucked. It was not fun. There were so many moments, and I just spoke to this, that I doubted the process.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. We're going to have to revisit this, right?
Yes. I would have loved to hear that conversation. Okay, look, universe.
Right. I made a deal.
I am a willing horse.
All the things, including literally sitting in the unknown in this situation that anyone outside of me is looking at, almost like this is borderline irresponsible and crazy to do this to two kids, right? I know that's what, maybe it's my own projection, but pretty sure there was some of that, right? And so it wasn't easy. And it was very difficult to sit and be patient for the delivery to arrive, because a lot of the struggle is that, right? When is it gonna be here? When is it gonna be done?
And that's part of being the flexible thing, because we don't have control over the results or the timelines or anything like that. I just want to highlight something that you were just actually pointing towards, is the resistance from others, right? So it's sort of like you're on a path, and I think there's a difference of the feeling, right? We've got feelings of resistance that are coming, sort of feel like they're coming from us, but we also have a perception of resistance from others,
right?
And thinking that resistance is also real, and it's just their misunderstanding of the situation, because they wouldn't do that.
Right. And listen, it's not their job, right?
No, of course not.
It's not their job. The reason why I was able to just hear it and let it come out the other way was because I've done a lot of work on myself. I know that. It's like I'm hitting resistance in my outside from the people around me, wanting to tell me, suggest, and we're just saying this, right? The advice. And I wasn't upset. right? And the reason why I wasn't upset is because of very much what you're saying, right? Like, I know how to let go of that because I know very well who I am and what
Right.
I stand for and what my values are.
Mhm.
And that is above all,
Yeah.
right? Because no one is me. No one is experiencing my life. No
No.
one has my exact values.
No.
So other people's advice, it's welcomed, but it also has a different place than my own knowing, right? My own knowing is above that because no one knows me as well as I know me.
No, you're the expert. Everybody's an
I'm the
expert on.
expert of my
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
myself, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what most people go through in the way we're conditioned to think about ourselves and our lives. Like, we don't exactly know what it is that we want, so we go based on what everyone is doing, what everyone is saying, what
Well,
everyone
because
is
and yeah,
things to be.
and we're filled with insecurity. So where
We're
do we
filled
look?
with insecurity.
Right? So we
Filled
look
with
outside
insecurity.
for validation. We look, well, what's Joe doing over there? What's
Right,
Sally doing over there? Oh,
right,
I must be doing more of that because they seem to be having much more fun
right,
about it,
right,
right? And they're forgetting that no, you have to keep pointing inside, keep exploring your world, right? And then you'll discover who you are,
right.
and then keep expanding that.
Right. And also, and I don't want to say that anything that anyone said or the advice that was all garbage.
Oh no, no, no.
It was
No,
right. Okay. Out of 10 things you just shared with me, these two are super valuable to me. Thank
they
you.
resonate.
That
Yeah.
in mind. And that's actually, and I want to really give credit here, how I ended up getting this place because I followed some of that advice from someone who's a friend who is in real estate, right? Who is an expert
Yeah,
with that,
there you go. Yeah.
right?
See, the
So,
teachers and the experts start to show up
right, right,
when see, that's part
right,
of your letting go, right?
right,
That, in that moment, to sort of like, okay, maybe I don't know everything. What do they have to hear?
right,
And then hearing the vibration, hearing how it resonated, right? You pick
right.
and choose. Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
It's like, I will take this piece of your advice because I know this is
Yeah,
your expertise, is what you do.
yeah,
And everything else that's like your personal opinion, that's an opinion,
yeah,
right? Take it or leave it. I'll keep whatever aligns and let go of what doesn't align.
yeah.
But what you suggested from an expertise standpoint was very valuable to me. That is exactly how I ended up getting this place because I knew how to listen
Mm,
when I needed to listen, right? When I needed to, oh, this is actually a valuable piece of information the life is just handing to me. Why wouldn't I take it? Right?
well, yeah, and that's something I've actually learned myself. It's like, again, we're constantly learning, right? It's like it's not like we know everything all at once, but even that part, like there was a time, and even I fall into that a little bit, is where I need to find the answers. I need to find the answers. And so I would do all the research, I would do all the things, I would do all the learning. But I'm realizing that there are messages, even from the wisdom of my wife, would say something, and it was sort of like, no, no, let me figure it. No, wait a minute. Can you say that again?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like, oh, I don't have to do all this research. I could just do this, really,
Right.
And
Right.
I mean, some of it is brilliant, right? When we're open enough for it. But when I'm caught in the no, 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 let me figure it out. No, just
Control. I
yay.
I can do it myself. I'm gonna get a big fat prize for doing it all on my own, suffering by myself. And
Yeah.
I did it. I'm miserable and I'm still suffering, but I did it all on my own. Right?
Yeah.
So, and now I'm not, don't tell me what to do because I'm gonna do the research. I'm gonna figure it out myself, right? I can really speak to that too because that was me, like, and I still sometimes fall in that trap, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
it's in the balance, right?
Yeah.
Of knowing when am I like really my ego that like I feel like I'm gonna get a big fat prize for doing it on my own, and instead I'm bringing on more suffering onto myself because guess what? There's someone that has expertise on this and is giving me a really valuable piece of advice, right? So, like you were saying, openness, And I would add all of this entire conversation, where to find the balance, radical honesty with yourself, radical honesty. Be willing to question everything. Question yourself, question what's being said to you, question it all, but also be radically honest with what is it that you want? Where is it that you're resisting because you're in your ego? Where is it
Like,
that
do you really want it? Like, do
yeah,
you really want it? You know?
right? Do you
Yeah.
really want it, or it has become personal?
Yeah.
Right? Now it's
Yeah.
personal, right? It's radical honesty. If you cannot be radically honest with yourself and you're in proving something to someone, even if it's just to yourself, and if you're in like this, I'm gonna figure it out myself, right? Or like, I'm not, I don't need any help. But that's where you are creating resistance for yourself, and then
That's big time
own
resistance.
block.
That's big time resistance. Yeah. Yeah. Because anything worthwhile, and this is what I learned in the workshops for the last couple of years. I was in the creating the impossible workshops, right? The only way things become possible out of impossibility is it's not just up to one individual.
Right.
Right? It's a team effort, and some of it does come from places that you would never have guessed, you know. And I forget I think it's George Bernard Shaw's quote about point yourself in a direction and then providence follows. And this is something, and that's letting go of, okay, I'm pointing myself in a direction, but I'm also trusting that things will start to show up, right?
That's the
And
hardest part.
I know.
That is the hardest part. Like, I'm trusting, I'm
Okay.
waiting, I'm trusting.
Hello.
Oh, everything outside of me is pointing in the other direction, but I'm still trusting. Wait, it's still not happening, but I'm still trusting, right? That is the hardest part too. You found that balance, you did the doing, and then you have to sit and wait. We don't like to wait. We want things now.
No,
Right?
yeah. We're
Instant
immediate gratification.
Yeah, we don't want to. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to go through without my home any longer, right? And that's where we sometimes give in. That's when we sometimes fold over to the other side.
And we stop participating.
We stop participating.
Yeah.
And like, it's important to understand that in that moment, you're being asked, like a monk, to practice. It's spiritual practice, right?
It is.
Practice really trusting things, no matter what everything outside of you is showing you, right? No matter how difficult it is in that moment, still continuing down the path that you know and you have decided is the path for you. And sometimes it does take surrendering the control and just sitting in allowance and waiting. That is not easy at all.
Not in this world.
Not in this
not with this. Yeah. No, it's yeah. So, wow. It's interesting how we start off with a blank slate, basically. Like we have a bit of a direction, and like you said just before we hit the record button, well, let's just see where this will go. And yeah, no, it's been a fun conversation. I really liked it. Lots of goosebumps, lots of things that resonated with me, and thank you for being a little vulnerable today too, and sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because I think it's important to let everybody, or to remind everybody, that it doesn't look like roses and sugar.
It doesn't. It doesn't. My life went from really like, what's a good way to put it? It's not gonna be offensive. It's to having my dream home, to bouncing around 14 different places in 3 months.
Yeah.
And not knowing that I would even find a place that was suitable or acceptable. That's a stark contrast there, right?
But it's also a demonstration of your resilience too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I want
Yeah,
to
I'm
acknowledge.
stubborn. I am definitely
Well,
stubborn.
you can call it stubborn. I'll call it resilience. Okay.
Love it. I love it. It's true. That's a much more empowering word. But yeah, I do. And it actually takes me back to a message that I received. I would say now it's been a year and a half ago during a cacao ceremony. I received this very, very clear message, and it was stand your ground.
Ooh.
And that was followed by seeing myself in a river being carried by water. So
Mm.
follow, the river,
Yeah.
and then the wind picking me up and like showing me these beautiful things from a different point of view and taking me exactly where I wanted to go. And then because it was earth, water, wind, and then fire. And then I found myself surrounded by fire, had and I was told to share that power and give it to others.
There you
It
go.
was a cacao ceremony. It was very powerful. So I received this very powerful imagery during that experience, and it keeps coming back to me. Stand your ground. It was the exact opposite of what I thought the message that would come through would be based on what my intention was at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time. But it would tell me to just be flexible and let
Yeah.
things. Some of that came in, but the very first message was stand your ground.
Right on. Right on. What? That's perfect. That's just what a great way to end the show a little bit, right? I mean, it's like,
Oh,
whoa, boy, and there's more to explore on that one because, I mean, wow. Yeah, no. So let's continue to stand our ground.
stand your ground, be flexible and allow, right?
Yeah.
And be in our power, right? Because it wasn't just stand your ground, it was all of it, right?
Right. And
And your ground is important, right?
you were 100% immersed in it. Like you were participating in it.
We
Right? You weren't
participated.
standing on the sidelines or standing on the shorelines watching all this happen.
Right.
You were in it. And I think that part, for me, health is about participation.
Right.
And when I find myself, and this is probably another subject, but for another show, but I know when I'm not participating in life.
Right. And sometimes participating looks like letting others carry you, letting life
That,
guide.
that's
Right.
recognizing the balance.
Yeah,
Recognize.
that's still participating. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's still participating.
Well, you have a wonderful week.
You too, Rick. I will see you next week from wherever I'll be.
Well, and wherever I'll be too. Like I'm going to do a little side trip out into the wilderness again. Um, but yeah, if you like this show, please like it, subscribe it, share it with friends, and leave us any comments. We love reviews. It helps us spread the word. By doing so. So you're doing us a big favor by liking and subscribing and
You're helping
make it,
justify our impact.
yes, yeah, and that's what we're here for. Like we want to share what we've learned, and tell people based on like our title, an honest look at what life
Right.
is from.
Right.
It is our point of view, but we love to hear your side too.
Right. And sometimes what we share is not fun. We share the not fun moments too.
Yeah, because that's what it is. This is life. All right.
All right, Greg. I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone. Until next time.
Bye bye.